Hi, hello, how are you? I want to welcome you to the course of English for Business. This is for basic level, and this is session 2 that it is using servos in Portafácil. Now, we're saying in Portafácil in Spanish because it is the correct name. It is the name of the procedure. That's why we are going to keep it in Spanish and not translate it into English, okay? Now remember that this is part of Unit 1, that is imports, and your teacher Liliana Kipusco. So, first of all, we're gonna read the course considerations. First, you must speak English during the entire conference. If you are not able to speak in English during the conference, you could try to speak in Spanish, write in Spanish, but try to do your best effort to speak in English because the point of the course is to practice, okay? Then you can ask questions during the course of the conference. I'm gonna make some pauses between the class so I can answer your questions. Third, I will really appreciate if you can share some anecdotes, experiences, or maybe any problems that you have right now that are related to the subject that we're going to see, so we can take them as an example and help you. And finally, at the end of this session, we will have an exam. I'm going to give you a link. So you will see in this an exam slash survey. So you're going to answer some questions to let us know how the class was, and also you're going to answer some questions about the topic that we're going to see today. Remember that this exam has multiple choice questions with 4 alternatives. So now we're going to start. As I told you, this is session 2, and we're going to see using self-post in Portafácil. So first of all, we need to know some meanings. So what is in Portafácil? You may ask yourself, maybe you have already used it and you know what it is, or maybe you don't know it at all, or maybe you have already used it, but you didn't know that it was in Portafácil. So now we're going to see that. First of all, a very important meaning in today's class is customs. So, customs, according to Cambridge Dictionary, it's the place at a port, airport, or border where travelers' bags are examined for illegal or taxable goods. So, in this case, according to Cambridge Dictionary, the customs are the place that could be in an airport, a port, or a border where usually people go out of a country, where your bags, if you are the person who's traveling, are going to be examined for maybe illegal clothes that you are bringing in, or maybe taking out. In this case, for example, bringing in could be some medicines that are prohibited, and going out would be if we're talking about drugs. Okay. Also, for Cambridge Dictionary, customs is the money that it is paid to the government when you take your goods from one country to another. So this could be like we could say import duties that we usually pay. Now, according to Oxford Dictionary, customs is the official department that administers and collects the duties levied by a government on imported goods. So in this case, it would be SUNAT, that is the one that administers and collects the money from import taxes in order there for imported goods. Also, they say that customs is the place at a port, airport, or frontier. Frontier could be a synonym of border, where the officials, in this case customs officials would be for Peru, are going to check the incoming goods, the travelers, the people who's traveling, and the luggage. In this case, your backpacks, your bags, everything that you have with you when you are traveling. If we're talking that you're going to leave the country or you're coming back to Peru or to another country, not just Peru. Now, the main question would be, how do I use in Portafácil? In this case, do I have to be a company? Do I need to of a company, or can I be a person, a regular person, a natural person, and be able to use Importafácil? So we're gonna see that right now. Now, what exactly is Importafácil? Importafácil is a service that is implemented by SUNAT. SUNAT is the entity that administers and collects the money from duties, import duties. In this case, SUNAT is giving a service that it is called Importafácil, where you can receive your postal shipments and import, or in this case, and or import products, any kind of products that you would like to import from another country through or via circles. So you're gonna import or receive postal shipments via circles. You're gonna use circles, that it is the national service of the National Postal Service. Now, what are the characteristics of Importafácil? In this case, Importafácil is really, really quick and also simple. Why quick? In this case, it is quick because you are not going to, you won't need to make any kind of procedures. It is this, so you won't have to wait, or in this case, not wait, but would be like spend time doing procedures, especially import procedures for regular people that is a little more hard to understand. On the other hand, why it's simple? Because you are just going to buy and wait on your house until your product comes to Peru and then is delivered to your house. In this case, how can you use Importafácil? You are using Importafácil every time that you are buying from eBay, then you are buying from Wish, and then you are buying from AliExpress or Alibaba. Every time you're buying from them and you are using the regular shipments that are like free shipping, those, every time you're using those, you're using Importafácil because it is via circles. Also, when you are buying uh, stuff, or you're with any kind of products that are for your personal use or for selling, and also if you're receiving postal shipments via EMS, you are also using Importafácil. Now, if you are going to use a courier, it wouldn't be Importafácil, because if you're using a courier, you wouldn't be importing via circles. You will be importing via the courier that you are hiring. So in this case, remember that Importafácil is only when you are receiving postal shipments or importing through circles. Okay. Now, to use Importafácil, you can be a natural person or you can be a legal entity. It doesn't matter. If you're a legal entity, when you buy, you have to give to the person, in this case to your supplier, you have to send them your legal company, the company's name, the legal name of the company, and also the RUC, the tax ID, that in Spanish in Peru is RUC. On the other hand, when you are a natural person, you have two options. You can buy with just your ID or with your tax ID. In this case, with your ID would be your DNA in Spanish, and your tax ID would be your RUC in Spanish. Now, if you're going to buy for your personal use, you can use this both, any of these. But if you're going to import in order to sell, you need to have your ID, your RUC. It could be natural a natural person with business RUC. That is a special regimen that you could see a little more on our course of import procedures. But you could be just a natural person and import. That's okay. It is good. The SUNAT and circles are going to allow you to import, even though if you don't have a legal entity. You could be just a person that has their own store, little store, and you are just working with a natural person, uh, with a store, with a company in this case. Now, the first option with ID or DNA in Spanish have some characteristics. It would only allow you to import via Importa Fácil via Serpos if you do only 3 imports per year. Okay, so remember, if you only do 3 imports per year that don't exceed that $1,000, so it could be $1,000 or less, you don't need a tax ID, but just 3 imports per year. Now, I've seen many people that tend to import more than 3 times a year, but according to the rule, according to the law, you're only allowed to import with just your DNA or your ID only 3 times per year, 3 imports per year, if they don't exceed $1,000. On the other hand, what happens if you have an import that is over $1,000? In this case, you can import over $1,000 up to $3,000. It is okay, but just one import per year. So if I receive an import of $2,000, I already use this option. So according to the law, I won't have any, I will not be allowed to do more imports on the year. Okay, so remember this. But if I receive $500 in my first import, I have two more options to import in that year, but not exceed the $1,000. Okay. Now, on the other hand, if you have a tax ID or a RUC in Spanish, you are allowed to import as many times as you wish. This could be if you have a natural person group. Yes, if you are going to buy for your personal use, in this case, a natural person with a RUC, or if you have a natural person with a company uh, kind of proof. Those both options. Now, if this is in the case that you're going to use for yourself, the product is for yourself, but if you are going to sell it, you only have the option to use the Importa Fácil with a tax ID. Remember this, okay? Now, how does Importa Fácil work? In this case, we have also two options. If we are importing less than $200 or our product is $200, you don't need to make, you won't have any customs procedure. So you will just buy and wait in your house for your product until the mailman will bring it to your house. Or if your product is over 2 kilograms, the person, in this case the mailman, will come to your house, leave you a little paper from Serpos that is going to say that you have a postal shipment and you have to pick it up at your local postal office. On the other hand, also a benefit is that you won't have to pay any kind of import duty. So, like I told you, you are just going to buy from Wish, from Amazon, from AliExpress. In this case, Amazon doesn't send via Post. In this case, it will be from AliExpress, Alibaba, eBay, and Wish, and you will just have to wait in your house until the product comes. Only if your product is $200 or less. Now, what happens if your product is over $200? In this case, if your product is over $200 up to $2,000, it could be subject to the payment of an import duty. You will have a DIF that it is called Declaración Importa Fácil, that is the document of the import that is going to let you know how much you have to pay. And also, once the duty is paid, once you saw your number of the div that we're going to see later, and you pay for it on the authorized banks, may SUNAT in this case will make surplus know that you have already paid your import duties, and they will let your product take it to your house, be delivered to your house, or the mainland, if your product is over 2 kilograms, will just come to your house and give you a little paper that you have to go to pick it up. Okay? Remember that it is not only for products that are over 2 kilograms. In this case, the mailman is not going to bring to your house products over 200 kilograms, but also if the product is not 2 kilograms, but it has a lot of volume, it is big in size, but not in weight, but it is big in size and has a lot of volume, they will not bring it to your house either. In this case, you will have to go to pick it up to your local postal office. Now, how can you know where your postal office is? In this case, you could call to Serpost, or you could check it also on the web page, on Serpost web page, or in Serpost app. Okay. Now, the authorized banks where you can pay your import duties are BCP, BBVA, Banbif, Banco Financiero de Scotiabank, and Banco de la Nación. Now, there's a really important, in this case, two really important characteristics about the products that are less or $200. In this case, you cannot import restricted goods. So if your product has needs any kind of permission from any kind of entities, for example, if you're importing cell phones for selling, or if you're importing, let's say, toys that need permission from some entities, you're not allowed to use Importa Fácil if the products are $200 or less. In this case, you will need to um, import more than $200. Another special characteristic about Importa Fácil is that if your product is $200 or less, if you have, let's say, two shipments that arrive in the same means of transport, in this case, in the same airplane, and they together exceed the $200, it is not allowed to use Importa Fácil. So if you are going to buy products at the same time, remember to be careful not to exceed the $200, because there's a slight chance that both the more than one shipment will arrive in the same airplane, let's say. Okay, so let's be really careful about that. Be really careful. Also, another tip that I can give you is don't buy exactly $200. Buy a little less, because maybe Sunat use checks your import, and if they let's say they're going to stop your import, they're going to check it for the prices, and they're going to say that your product is not $200, that is a little more. So you will be, your shipment, in this case your postal shipment or what you bought, is going to be on the second option, and maybe you will be able to, or be subject to paying for duties. So don't buy exactly $200. Always buy a little less. Okay. Now, what happens if I'm not going to import $2,000? I need to import more. Let's say $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, and I want to use Importa Fácil. What happens if I need to import a higher amount? In this case, if you import more than $2,000, you will need to do a regular import using the stakeholders. Okay. Or maybe using another kind of, in this case, it will be custom agent, a freight forwarder, or a custom agent. Okay, so you will only use Importa Fácil if you are bringing less, $200 or less, or more than $200 up to 2,000. Okay. Now remember that Suppose takes a little to, if for example, if we buy from China, let's say a product, for example, AliExpress is going to tell us that it will take from 30 to 60 days. But suppose right now has some problems. They're doing some they're doing some fixes. They're fixing the structure of suppose, so they take a little longer because they don't have that much people working right now. That is a really huge problem that I'm seeing in the local postal offices. So if AliExpress says that your product is going to be maybe here in Peru from 30 to 60 days, it will probably take longer. It will probably take 3 months, 4 months. From my experience, I can let you know that, for example, I bought some keychains for for my personal use in June from last year, in this case June 2018, and I received the product like 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, a month ago. So it was almost 6 months of waiting. So you have to be really careful. In this case, if you're going to buy something for personal use or for a sale that you will really need fast, in this case, I will recommend you to buy a tracking code. So when you buy a tracking code, they tend to be a little faster. Let's say it could take the 60 or 80 days, or you can use EMS. EMS is a kind of postal service also that it will take from a couple of weeks, let's say. As a last resort, you can use couriers that it will not be in Porta Fácil. It will be via a courier that there's another kind of procedure for couriers. And couriers, they are going to charge you more. Let's say if Serpos or let's say if Serpos shipment with a tracking code can cost you $3, $4 for just the shipment. On the other hand, a courier will cost you like $40. So it's going to be a lot more money for the shipment, but your product will be here in Peru in approximately 2 weeks, 3 weeks if you have any kind of problem with the import duties. So let's consider that when we are going to make an import. Now this is a little image, a little picture of how Importa Fácil works. First, the person is going to the natural person or the company is going to send to Peru the product. The product is going to arrive via, let's say, by sea or by shipment. Usually, I'm sorry, by sea or by air. In this case, by shipment or by airplane. In this case, when you're buying via AliExpress and those kinds of web pages, AliExpress, Alibaba, or Wish, they come here to Peru via airplane. Then, once the product gets here, it's going to be translated to a postal deposit, a temporary postal deposit, so customs can do the checkings on the product. Now, if the product is less or up to $200, you don't pay duties, so it goes just straight to the local postal office for you to pick it up, or for the mailman to take it to your house if you put your address in the right way. On the other hand, if the value is more than $200 up to $2,000, in this case there are two options. If you don't pay any kind of import duties, it goes straight to the postal office. But if you have to pay, you will get a paper where it's going to let you know your DIF number, your Declaración Impuesto Fácil number. So you will have to go to pay your duties, and once you paid on the authorized banks, SUNAT is going to let Serpos know that you already paid, you don't have any kind of debt, in talking about import debts. And then Serpo, in this case, Sunat is going to allow Serpos to um, is going to allow you to pick up your product at the local postal office, or to let the mailman bring the product to your house. So this is kind of a really easy and graphic way to see how Importafácil works. Now, we're going to check how we're going to see on we're going to see on the internet, in this case in Sunap webpage, how to do the procedure to check our DIF status, our Declaración Importa Fácil status, to see how much we have to pay, where we have to print, where which button we have to press to pay our duties, and everything that is related to that. Okay, so I'm going to share to you my web page. So let me know, please, if you can see it. Okay, I think we're here. Okay, yes, we're here. So we're going to go to Sunat main web page. Okay, this is Sunat main web page. So once we are here, we're going to click on customs, and we're going to wait. Okay, once it is loaded, we're going to go. Oh, 1 minute, let me scroll down. Okay, so once our web page is already loaded, we're going to go down and click on Operatividad Aduanera, and we're going to wait. Now, once this web page is completely loaded, we're going to go down and we're going to check in here. Consulta DIF. So remember that this is in the despacho box. Okay, so we're going to click on Consulta DIF, and we are going to wait a little. Okay, now this is the web page for Declaraciones Importa Fácil. So we can check the using the year and the number of the DIF. Remember that you are going to get a little paper to your, the mailman is going to bring a little paper to your house when you're going to find the DIF number. Or sometimes I have heard of some clients that they don't get any kind of paper, that they receive a message to their cell phones, but that's if they have their information updated in Sonata. If you don't have it, you will get a little paper from the mailman letting you know your DIF number, or letting you know that you have to go to your postal office, local postal office, to pick up your DIF number. Now in here we will put the DIF number, but if we don't have the DIF number, we can also search by the date of the number of the DIF, if you have it here. And we can search also from numbers of the DIF, from ranges. So in this case, we're going to use the first one, and we're going to use some numbers as an example. Now we can put console, we can check on console, we can check on clean, we can check on export and export in Excel. So in this case, we're going to check on console, and we're going to wait. Okay, now that this is loaded, we loaded the DIF declaration DIF number 1234 from the year 2019. So this is the general data of the DIF. So the date and the number of the declaration is January 10, 2019 at 11:48 a.m. with 16 seconds. So check how precise it is. Now there is the document, it is according to the law, you have your number of sick days, that kind of procedure that you're using, that it is postal services, postal shipments, and that you're using importa fácil. Now the information that is most important for us is how much is the FOB value. In this case, it is a FOB value for $79. The freight was $10. Um, the insurance was $1.38. In this case, if you don't buy an insurance, especially when we are using when we are buying from AliExpress or other kind of online e-commerce web pages, we don't buy insurances, but they have what they call insurance like chart, where they are going to just take, let's say, like they're going to simulate how much you will have to pay for insurance in order to have the safe value. Okay, so if we add all these values, we will have a safe value of 1938.38. Also, our product is, in this case, the example, the product that is our example is 0.35 kilograms, and it is just one piece of package. Now, we have in here some information about the product. We're seeing the weight, we're seeing the HS code, so this is important. We're seeing that it's just one unit, and we can see that the person who imported a cellular Honor 7A with 3 GB of RAM, 32 GB of ROM, and some other information about. I'm guessing that it is about the series of the product. In this case, I think that Honor 7A, I'm guessing it is a Huawei, as I can see. So in this case, this person imported one cell phone. Okay, it is most likely that this person imported just one cell phone for their own use because it is just one unit. So in this case, because it is just one cell phone for personal use, they will not need any kind of permission from the Ministry of Transport and Communications. So they are allowed to use Importa Fácil, and also they will not have to pay any kind of duties because it is less than $200, as you can see. So they say here you can see the status of the diff. It says that they have an authorized that it is authorized for SUNAT to let Serpos bring the product to your house. Now you can in here print the deposit detail for you to in this case for you to pay the import duties. So you click it there, but we are not going to be allowed to print it because it was already paid. And also we can print the diff. In this case, we're just going to click it. The web page is going to let us see another. It's going to let us download a PDF um, file. There is this one that we have in here. So this is the import of parcel declaration. We have all the information that we have already seen, but as we can see here, we can see the name of the person. We have the identification, the ID. In this case, it is a rook. So as we can see, it could be a natural. It could be just a natural person with a rook or a natural person with a business. We have the address of the person, the transport company. In this case, was United Airlines. It was bring to Peru via airplane, and we have also, as you can see, the flight. So we have a lot of information for our product. So if you have the information, if you have your diff number, you're going to be able to find all of this information in just one click. Okay, now we're going to see another example. Let me share again. Okay, so we are here. Now what happens if we want to check from scratch? We just click on clean, and now it takes us back to the main web page of Declaración de Importe Fácil. So now we can check for another number. Let's find one from the previous year, 2018. So we put the number and we check on concept. Now, in here we have again a declaration from the 2018 January the 18th. So we have that is they are using Importa Fácil. We have the name of the person. We have their address, and now in here we can see that this product was on the second option, that it was over $200. So it was $210, the FOB value. So in this case, just for $10, he maybe had to pay some import duties. Now, the freight was $85. The insurance was $1.58. The fifth value was $296.58. So it is, if we add all of these three numbers, we have that it had a weight of 18.7 kilograms, and we see that liquidated, in this case, the import duties amount was zero. So he was on the second option, but he didn't have to pay any import duties. And he already have an authorized, he was already authorized to get his product. So we have in here the HS code, and we have that it was luggage. So you can see here that it was luggage from the traveler, clothes, and personal objects. So he didn't have to pay any kind of duties. So in here we are not going to be allowed to print the deposit because it was already paid, but we can check the diff again. And I'm going to share to you again this page. In here, we have it in here. So we're going to see the main information. We're going to see the name of the person. In this case, it was a passport number. So he didn't use any kind of ID or RUC. So he used a passport number. We have the address. We have the person who sent, the person who received, the person who sent. We have the country of origin, that it was from Italy. We don't have available the transport information, the transport company information, but we don't have the number of the flight. So maybe by the number of the flight, if we do a little research on the internet, we could find the company. And we have in here all the information, that it was just again luggage, and we have the exit code. So this will be how to find. Remember that in here you have duties, import duties that you have to pay. In this case, it was 000, and it was he didn't have to pay anything. So it was straight. They sent straight the product to their house. In this case, because it was luggage, and maybe it was bigger. It was big. It's most likely that this person had to go to the local postal office to pick up their luggage, in this case, their shipment. Okay, so we're going to go back to our okay, so we're going to close in here. Remember that as soon as you click on print, the web page is going to download automatically the diff, and it's going to be open on a PDF file. Okay, so now I'm going to leave you here the references. In this case, are the references from where we use the information to make today's class. Remember that it was only from Sunat because we have seen only from Sunat. And I'm going to share to you right now the link for the survey/exam. It's going to be there on the group chat. Okay, so we have it there on the group chat, the link. And remember to check again the information, to check again the material, to check again the video before you take exam, so you can have all the information. You can have a little fresher of the information. And finally, I want to thank you very much for your attention. I hope that you were able to learn a little bit more about imports, in this case, how to use the surplus import fácil. It is very simple, as you can see, it is pretty simple. If you ever bought from AliExpress, Alibaba, or eBay, maybe you already use import fácil and you didn't know. So this is very important for you to know now that you are using import fácil and how you can take more advantage of import fácil, not just buying a little maybe just little pieces of jewelry, or maybe some keychains, or maybe some little details that are $1, $2, $3 that you can use it. You can buy also products that are a little more expensive, but always remember to be careful if you're going to buy products that are more expensive, especially if you're buying from China, because from China they tend to tell you that it is original products, but they're usually not. So you have to be careful. So this in portfolio will be good if we are talking about buying for sales, okay? If we are buying higher amounts. So finally, again, I want to thank you for your attention. Remember that this was session 2 using Serpos in Fácil and your teacher Liliana Kipusco. I hope that you have a really, really nice weekend, and I will see you next week, okay? Bye bye, take care.